Welcome to the Know, I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm John Reisinger.
So Australia is at the censorship game again, this time banning the upcoming survival horror game Outlast 2. Now, Outlast 2 has officially been denied classification in Australia by the Australian government's classification board, meaning it cannot be released for sale in the country.
This, of course, isn't the first time video games have run afoul of Australian sensibilities.
Yeah, very sensitive.
They are. They're known for being so sensitive, those Australians. Leading to a pretty big discussion about censorship and consumer choice. And to top it all off, their rating system was supposed to prevent stuff like this from happening anymore.
Yeah, because apparently Outlast 2 has such bad content, they won't even allow it to be rated for 18 and up, which is where the scale goes for Australian games ratings. Actually, all Australian media ratings. Now, maybe in Australia there's a level you reach past adult that gives you access to, like, really fucked up shit.
Super adult. Let's back up a second. If you're unaware, Outlast 2 is the sequel to the hit survival first-person horror game Outlast 1, which went on to sell more than 4 million copies after it blew up on Steam, PS4, and Xbox One over the last few years. In the second game, players take the role of cameraman Blake, who, along with his wife Lynn, are investigating the seemingly impossible murder of a pregnant woman known only as Jane Doe. Their search leads them to the Arizona desert, and naturally, everything goes straight to hell, as everything does when it goes to Arizona.
Yeah, you had me at Arizona. It's supposed to release on April 25th worldwide, but that might have to have just a little bit of an asterisk next to it now, thanks to Australia's decision.
According to the board's ruling, games are denied classification if they are found to depict, express, or otherwise deal with matters of sex, drug misuse, or addiction, crime, cruelty, violence, or revolting or abhorrent phenomena in such a way that they offend against the standards of morality, decency, and propriety generally accepted by reasonable adults to the extent that they should not be classified.
It seems honestly like that description, the violations, would cover an awful lot of games, but whatever.
Anything but Nintendo, basically.
Right, those indecent. Interestingly enough, the demo for Outlast 2 actually passed classification back in September when the board had rated the demo. They gave it R18+ based on their rubric, which looks at the impact of violence, themes, language, drug use, nudity, and sex. At the time, Outlast 2 was rated strong impact on its themes, high impact on violence, and very mild impact on nudity.
Gotta work on that nudity impact. But there must have been something in the final game, which obviously has way more content to get past the board censors, that made them nope out of it altogether. Kotaku AU got its hands on the actual response from the board about what it was that caused Outlast 2 to get denied classification.
Yeah, we won't go into it too much since it is verging on spoiler territory. It does discuss what's happening in the game, but it's got something to do with the main character and his wife, a hallucination of a violent orgy in an enchanted forest, and one creature forcing itself sexually on the main character, Blake.
I hate when forced orgies get violent, kind of ruins them. The decision from the board reads, although much of the contact between the creature and Blake is obscured by it taking place below screen, the sexualized surroundings and aggressive behavior of the creature suggest that it is an assault which is sexual in nature. The board is of the opinion that this, combined with Blake's objections and distress, constitutes a depiction of implied sexual violence.
And to be fair, Australia is very sensitive to sexual violence in media. It's just a thing.
Okay.
In the board's opinion, the above example constitutes a depiction of implied sexual violence and therefore cannot be accommodated within the R18+ classification category, and the game is therefore refused classification.
According to the board, if the scene were to be taken out, or more specifically the implication of sexual violence against Blake, then they would allow the game to be classified for sale.
While the scene in question does sound kind of like gruesome,
bad,
fucked up, disturbing, say what you will. It sounds like it's intentionally meant to be that way. This definitely raises an issue about whether or not it's the government's job to police what should and shouldn't be allowed in a video game. Typically, the job of the government or whatever official body oversees ratings is to rate the games based on their content and then leave it up to consumers to decide if that content is appropriate for them.
But this isn't the first time Australia's had to deal with this issue by a long shot. And the thing is, they created the new rating system, which went up to R18+, to deal with this exact issue. Prior to that, games were only rated to M15 before they refused classification, which caused quite a few problems.
So many problems.
Yep.
Back in 2008, Fallout 3 was banned for classification because it had realistic depictions of drugs that gave positive benefits to players. Eventually, Bethesda made some changes that allowed the game to ship there. The Witcher 2 also got some heat in 2011 for associating sexuality and nudity with quest rewards.
I love being rewarded for sexuality and nudity. The new system for rating games was supposed to have more leeway and finally went through in 2013 after years of lobbying. When the R18 plus legislature was finally passed, Prime Minister Jason Clare said adults are able to choose what games they play within the bounds of the law.
You know, unless that game is Outlast.
Right, he said that too.
Yeah, but Red Barrel's game isn't the only one that's gotten the ban hammer since the new laws went into effect. A couple of years ago, they banned Hotline Miami 2 because of implied sexual violence. The developers of Hotline Miami 2 then just told everyone to go ahead and pirate the game. And in 2013, South Park: The Stick of Truth had all that issue with them getting super censored, even with the R18 rating.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, it was like it was because a male main character was getting anally probed. I don't like that.
Yeah, it happens. They later got around the ban by replacing the scene in Australia with an explicit text description with phrases like aliens forcibly probe your rectum with the dildo-shaped probe, probe his ass with violent force, and causing his anal probe to penetrate him over and over. All with a picture of a crying koala in the background, along with big red letters spelling censored. So, somehow, that was better.
It was acceptable.
Sure.
Anyway, somehow it seems doubtful that Outlast 2 is going to be able to get away with some cheeky koalas to get her on this one. Not quite the tone of that game.
Kind of ruins the aesthetic.
A little bit. So what do you guys think of Australia's ban on Outlast 2? Should a rating be able to keep games off the shelves? And since it has, would you rather see the game censored and allowed to release, or would you rather not have it if they have to tone it down like that? Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on what survival horror games are banned where, and koalas, like this video and subscribe to the Know.
Especially koalas.
We got so much koala content on here.
We're now a koala news channel.
But let's back up a second. If you're unaware, Outlast 2 is the sequel to the hit survival first-person horror game, spoiler alert, Outlast, which went on sale more than 4 million copies, which went on to sail away on the seas of copies.
Sales. They went sailing on the selling seas.
I'm just gonna read the whole thing again. Let's back.